Okay, so I am recording now. Okay, so
Thank you.
no problem. So I guess for those that don't know, just a kind of a quick recap. I think most people on the line are all members, but who AEE is, so we're a nonprofit professional organization. Our main focus is to promote awareness around energy efficiency and energy use. So the simple thing I'd always say is that AEE was, especially as an energy manager, we're looking at using energy as like a currency. So how we manage and maximize your return on that is kind of a core focus of our members. AEE itself, the international head, was established in 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia, and currently hosts over 18,000 members in 90 countries. And we have several different certifications and chapters around the globe. So kind of going through for us, our main mission as a chapter is to promote scientific education and interest of those engaged in the energy industry and to foster action and sustainable development. So the big way we've been doing this year is trying to encourage more webinars. Typically we do these as in-person training or in-person events, and also really focus on the networking aspect of the industry to bring like-minded individuals together. So kind of go through some of the events we had this year. Probably our biggest one was the Hydrogen Technologies and Market Outlook webinar we did that we co-hosted with the Young Professionals in Energy. We also did one called the 7 Not So Hidden Secrets for Effective Measurement and Verification of Energy Efficiency Projects, hosted by Arent Mozzie. We had our Passive House one, and then we had one on optimizing HVAC design from Siemens as well. That was very well attended. And then all our past webinars, we've been making a point of recording them, so they are available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which I think I have on the next slide. I guess I don't. So if anyone has any questions, I can send the link for that as well. But the big thing we're looking at there is just developing our skills and assets. So if there's any presentations we haven't covered that people would like to see, by all means, please let us know during this meeting, and we'd be more than happy to start including those into our offerings for our members. So our big commitment too is also to start to work with industry and the provincial government to kind of establish some best practices, especially in the realm of energy management. So a big thing I know previously we had worked with was Energy Efficiency Alberta, was kind of using this CEM, or the Certified Energy Manager, as kind of a requirement for any kind of positions that were offered from the program, and then kind of tying that to some of the rebates, especially for the custom program for people that were working on it, that an energy manager should be working on it. So we're kind of making sure people have that standard practice and background, and everyone's kind of speaking a similar language. And then we're also looking to celebrate local success stories and role models to drive innovation. So you can see we had last year we'd recognized Vasily for his outstanding work within the province, and then Afure has been recognized by AE Center for her outstanding work, both within the board and within the province in her past project work. So congrats to her. And I know Raul recently won an award this year as well. Raul Gaba was on our board a couple of years ago. So as I've mentioned before, the other big thing we try to do is focus on networking. Obviously, that's been a little bit harder to do with online, but we're definitely looking at some different ways to diversify our online events to kind of try and recreate that atmosphere as close as we can going forward. And depending how the year 2021 shapes up, hopefully having some in-person events maybe by fall and trying to bring people together as well. So looking at how our board is set up, and this will come in particularly for the elections. So we mainly have the board structured two kind of parts. There's the officers and the directors. Officers are kind of mandated by our chapter bylaws. So currently we have 4, the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And then I have a motion for today to add the past president and Seawheel representative to our officer positions. And then we also have what's just our directors at large. So those can be either committee chairs or board members at large to vote and participate in our chapter direction, planning of events, and any kind of general day-to-day business. Most of our AGMs are led by the president, and then we're doing each term is 1 year. And there's always some discussion if the people want to talk about revising those. Sorry, it's being slow to change the slide there. So looking at our current existing board, So this year I was served as the president. I had previously served as treasurer and vice president in the past. We have Nagar as our treasurer, Amy as our vice president, and Joad as our secretary. And then with our board directors and supporting roles, we had Sol, Vasily, Tabor, Armagon, and Matthew that kind of ran up for our events, communications, and membership. And I think some of the roles were a little bit more fluid this year just because of the very different nature than typical years. So once again, as I mentioned, the 4 webinars we had hosted and kind of had the pictures for them. There's the link for the YouTube channel. So if anyone needs that, I'll put that in the chat. But those were the 4 key webinars we had done. And we did 2 networking events that were relatively well attended and kind of gave everyone the opportunity to meet some like-minded individuals while online. And we're have an archive of all our past events on our website. Moving forward, we'll make any slides available to any Alberta chapter member for free on the website. So just make sure when you sign up, that'll be accessible to you in the members only section of the website. So the big ones from last year and then looking forward is trying to continue to encourage training, mainly the CEM, Certified Energy Manager, CEA, Certified Energy Auditor, or the Certified Manager and Verification Professional, as well as Red Screen. That's all done through SIAT, but definitely looking to encourage more of those. I think with the online environment this year, we did see a lower adoption than in past years. And that might have also been partly with not having the funding from Energy Efficiency Alberta to cover some of the costs, but something definitely the chapter looks at advocating for to encourage more people to join the profession. And the more people we have with our designation, I think the more recognition they'll have in the general public market at large. Other notes, so we've largely been trying to publish our newsletter monthly. We did have a couple months with the transition where we didn't quite hit that mark, but overall, I think our newsletters were pretty well put together and received, and we were even recognized internationally for having the best international chapter newsletter out of the 95 chapters abroad. So some definite success stories to build on. So kind of going through our events, we kind of surveyed some of our members of what a general certified energy manager uses, what kind of technology they're using day to day. So this kind of gives an idea of what our members are doing. The big ones being obviously RetScreen and eQuest. And that's mainly for energy auditing purposes. So a lot of people definitely working within that space. Another question we had kind of gone through is when we're doing, why are we doing the modeling? And if we're doing it to the National Energy Code. So then you see a bit more diversification on the software. Hot 2000 kind of shows up in there too. So and then kind of a takeaway from lots of our members, most underrated idea within energy conservation would be the tenant behavior. So I think that's the big one that everyone flagged. It's, you can go through the technical one, you can do all the technical analysis, but sometimes it really is getting that adoption and buying in from members. And I think that may be something we need to target a bit more in our presentations on. You know, we've done a lot of technical presentations, so we can definitely take away from that and looking at having some events on how we engage people kind of more at the soft sciences or the social level to get that buy-in for energy savings. Other ones we talked about were water utility savings, reduce limits fresh air intake, so definitely to save up that energy use. Solar PV, which technically not energy conservation, but definitely goes into the environmental footprint I think most of our members take seriously. And then retro commissioning, which we've done presentation on in the past, but that's largely re-evaluating your existing equipment and making sure it's running properly. So going back to another update for the chapter. So running through our current financial position, this year would be one of the first years we've had, probably since our founding, that we've had a negative cash flow. So our net income was negative this year by about $1,100. That's largely with the shift to being on largely online events where normally we'd have sponsors to kind of drive our revenue. This year, this largely covers the cost for our Zoom license, which we're using for the meeting today, as well as our webinars, as well as hosting our website and that. So not too large of costs, but still there. Overall, looking at our balance sheet, we're still in a very healthy financial position with about $12,000 in assets. So
Hey, Josh,
we do have a few bit for accounts payable, so that'll clear up, but that still puts us well above $10,000. We're still in a very strong financial position going into 2021. And then we do have some new strategic initiatives for fundraising, seeking sponsorship for our Zoom account and our website, and then providing branding and endorsement for the sponsor. So that's how we plan we're going to resolve that moving forward. For some updates on our director's positions, so the membership, so we're...
Josh, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jed.
Do
And I should
you
be telling
take,
if anyone has questions, please
yeah,
put them in the chat and then we can see them there.
that was my question. Do you take questions from members at that point?
Yes, so please feel free if you feel like I'm talking too much and need a break, put that in the chat and then we can get a little break that up there. But thanks for mentioning that, Joad. And if anyone can't see it, you can also use the hand raise function. You should be able to see that in the participant list. So going through the director's updates, so membership, we are continually seeking to improve the value to our members. As I mentioned before, one of the big ones is going to be improving the members only section on the website. So adding more reference materials there, especially making all the presentation slides from any of our webinars available there online as an easy way to track it. In the past, we've also been starting to track for all our members their continuing education units or credits, so they can use for application for both their CEM or PEng within Alberta or elsewhere. For events, with it mainly being online, doing the SIAT training has kind of taken on a very different role in the past. Kind of have a little bit more reduced role than we used to plan and specifically try to get them to province. Now they're all done virtually. They're kind of trans-Canada or across Canada for those that attend. So there's a little bit of a loss of the Alberta identity for the chapter in there, but we're definitely working with SIAT to offer as many courses as possible for our members. The website, we've done quite a few updates to our website. So if there is any suggestions or issues, I know a few people had some challenges renewing their membership recently. So we'll definitely work on ironing out those kinks moving forward. And as well as kind of just encouraging our members to start using more social media, and we'll start updating our presence there as well. And then as mentioned, sponsorship, there's always, we would love to do another kind of mini conference or trade show like we've done in the past. Probably not necessarily going to happen this year. We will be supporting the Alberta Energy Efficiency Alliance with their event in the spring. And then we'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll do a similar virtual event in the fall. Also, as I mentioned, kind of rebranding our sponsorship to kind of target for our Zoom account and website. So that's kind of how we're going to target that one. That kind of makes it a more small ask, and then we'll definitely share their logo and mention them in all our meetings and everything moving forward. It doesn't change. So another update is Seawheel. So that's the Council on Women in Energy and Environmental Leadership. So that's kind of our sister cousin association associated with AWE or AEE. And they're really focused on empowering and bringing women in the energy industry together, especially offering mentorship opportunities and helping them pursue technical education and careers. There's also the scholarship offered from Seawheel, and I feel like I'm missing one more item. But there are definitely some mentorship opportunities there, and we are integrating, as we said, trying to integrate the AE chapter operations with Seawheel more by bringing in a representative role, and then kind of building off some of the past efforts of members like Kelsey and Afuri in the past with their Seawheel efforts. So as I mentioned, for 2021, so strategic direction that the board has kind of identified for this year is integrating our efforts with Seawheel more, definitely bringing that level of engagement higher, continuing to work with SIAT with our sponsorship and offering more courses for especially with maybe more of an Alberta focus or what our members are looking at doing, and encourage them to offer those. Industry involvement, so once again, that's going to largely be done through our webinar and networking events, but we're definitely looking at, if possible, some in-person or training events as well. And then I mentioned the strategic partnerships. So the big one would be with the Alliance in their conference, and then working with other organizations like we've done in the past, like Young Professionals in Energy or Solar Alberta, in hosting and kind of reaching a broader range of individuals for events. And that kind of goes to changing it up a bit. So it's not the standard format of one person talking to everyone while everyone sits by and listens, kind of like we're doing right now for the AGM. So trying to mix that up a bit and give a bit more engagement and make it feel a bit different. And then, as I mentioned, we are evaluating the potential to have a larger event in the fall, but that's going to be, pending on government rules and regulations if that's going to be possible. But otherwise, we'll shift that into the 2022 year.
Josh, we have a question from a Foray about the CEIT sponsorship.
Yeah, so that's part of the financial sponsorship. So that would be part of our normal operations. We have, I guess for those that don't know, we kind of have an annual agreement with SIAT, or see it, however people want to sponsor or pronounce it. So from that one, we're definitely working at maintaining that, and we need to follow up with them to redefine one for 2021. And then the other big one is if anyone's registering for a site event, it's we had it on one of the slides, it's AEE Alberta or just AEE. They have to use is the promo code, and then that gives $50 to the chapter for everyone that uses that. I'll flag that. I know we had it in red text on one of our slides. So does that answer Furia's question? You just lift your hand up if it's true or not. Seeing nothing from a Fury, moving on. For the events at a glance, so going forward in 2021, so the big one is our AGM today. In February, we have our APEGA partnership event on the Canadian Building Energy Codes and Valuations. And then we also have the Certified Energy Auditor course coming in March, as well as CEM training in March. The AE International has the AE West in April. The Energy Efficiency Alliance has their Energy Summit, which is to be determined, but I think we're aiming tentatively for June. And then as well, we're looking at another APEGA conference, our webinar lunches, so, and Stampede permitting. And then we'll be planning a more thorough kind of award night, hopefully for January 20, that should be 2022, 21. So those kind of some of the rough outlines, but I think the big one would be looking at either having a monthly webinar or networking event as kind of a key strategic goal for the chapter moving forward for this year. And if you have any topics anyone's interested in presenting or speakers you'd like to see or someone that you think would be great for the chapter bring in, please let us know. I'll be more than happy to reach out to them and get that planned and going. So I'm going to move into the elections process, but first I just want to outline the various roles and kind of a brief description of, at the minimum, what they're expected to do. For any of our officers' positions, I think being a small nonprofit, those are definitely more dynamic, and there's definitely some overlap and shifting of responsibilities depending on availability. But on paper, so the president presides over all the meetings, especially the AGM, and performs duties normally associated with the Office of Presidents, which the big ones is normally correspondence with AE International, setting up and making sure our annual reports are in, which we have our current one due in February, and as well just general governance of the chapter. The vice president's there to support and assist the president, and in their absence, chair and run the meetings. Treasurer, as implied by the name, oversees all the financial operations of the chapter. The secretary is responsible for the records of the chapter operations, mainly being the meeting minutes, also outreach for members and kind of overseeing and working with our membership director. The Seawheel representative will kind of serve to bring together Seawheel and AEE, and then working to support the role of women in the energy and environmental industries. And the chapter endeavors by proposing, developing, and implementing Seawheel related projects. So I think definitely trying to give more visibility to that as well. And then the other one I had mentioned, bringing in the past president role. So the kind of making, not so much to make the president role a 2-year term, but more to add some continuity into the new board to support them. So I think kind of that's more for existing people looking at running for the president role, kind of knowing that there's that expectation of at least transitioning after you've left to make sure that any lessons you've learned and experiences and how everything works isn't lost. Director positions are typically appointed by the board after the AGM, but key ones that we have still kind of on those is our programs or events. training, certification, membership, scholarship, and sponsorship. So if anyone is interested in getting involved in the board, those are definitely some positions that even our existing board members definitely would appreciate some support on. So if this is something you guys are interested in or something at large, let us know. We'd definitely be more than enthused to bring new people into the board, kind of helping with the operations and help us move forward. And in the past year, we've definitely utilized the communications, events, and membership and sponsorships. And then, like I said, the directors at large. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the key parts for the election process today. So the first one, we'll be voting them kind of in descending order. President, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and I'll do a quick motion to get the approval for the Seawheel and past presidents positions, excuse me. We'll be voting for one position at a time. We'll just be using the Zoom poll function. Make things simple this year. Most positions are uncontested, so it will be a yes or none of the above vote. So it should be pretty quick and straightforward. And this is open to AEE chapter members. If you're part of AEE International, that's great, but we would encourage you to join the Alberta chapter, and that's what's required to be eligible to vote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open up the poll first for the adding the 2 new positions. That one not save.
It will be a good time to ask questions if anyone attending the meeting has questions about this motion.
Yes. So I'm just going to open this up. So I move whereas the AE chapter of Alberta is seeking to expand the number of officers on the board, be it resolved that AE chapter add the following officer positions: the Seawheel representative and the past president. So can I get a second for that motion? Okay, I'm seeing Tabor. So I'll open it up to the floor if there's any discussions or concerns about this one for the motion before we formally open it to the vote. I see a couple people have voted, but and you can put your concerns or comments in there. If none, I'll give it 10 seconds and then we'll close the discussion and then open it to the vote. Okay, I'm seeing no comments or objections. So once again, we'll close discussions and open that to the vote. So if you haven't voted, please vote on the motion. And if you're unsure about the position, feel free, you can use the abstain option there as well. Okay, I think everyone has voted, so I'm just gonna end that and then share results so everyone can see. So unanimous vote on that one to the affirmative. So we will add those 2 new positions. And as I mentioned, I have those in the poll. So then moving forward. Oops. So going over, so this year, most of our positions, or all of our positions, are uncontested. So it'll be pretty quick to go through these. For the president, we have Tabor. For vice president, Kelsey. Treasurer Nagar will be returning for her role, as well as Joad for the secretary position. Amy, last year's VP, will be running for the Seawheel representative. And then I will get affirmative if everyone supports me still being on the board as the past president, but seeing as I was president this year, makes it a little bit easier. No one can run against me, so. Tabor, if you would like, I got your bio up here, but I'd like to give you this opportunity to kind of maybe address the room and kind of maybe outline some of your strategic goals and objectives for the year as president before we have the vote. Let me know if I can make you co-host. Oh, you can talk, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's pretty much as part of setting those goals that you already talked about a couple slides ago, but it's really about, with everything going on with COVID, trying to still get some additional value coming to the membership as a whole. So we'll be looking to do some additional webinars, trying to get more content available, and then still trying to work out some ways to get additional networking to happen under the current circumstances. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless anybody has any questions, happy to answer.
First, so I'll open up the floor for questions, and not everyone all at once here. I know most of you guys are on mute, so. Okay, seeing none. So we're just going to launch that poll. Oh, it did open them all at once. Okay, so the poll for president is open, so feel free to vote on that. While everyone is voting on it, I'll move on to the next position and open that to discussion. Then I'll report on the results for president. So for vice president, we have Kelsey Chagas. Kelsey, would you like to kind of share some thoughts of your aspirations, I guess, for the position and a little background on yourself?
Sure, thanks, Josh. Hi, everyone. I'm just looking forward to being more engaged and involved again with the group. I have been, as a member and in formal positions, been involved with the chapter for over 5 years. And as Josh mentioned, been involved with the Seawheel group as well. So it's neat to see that this Seawheel lead position has come to fruition. So the number of chapters are implementing it, and it's a way to formalize knowledge and information coming from the larger Seawheel group and supporting women in the network. And I think this is going to be an interesting year again. As we know, we're still in these interesting times, and at a time when a lot of us are, stuffed away in our homes, I think it's important that we still reach out and support each other and connect. And I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities, particularly for our field right now too. So I'm hoping to find those opportunities to bring a voice to the work that we do as well. So, thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Kelsey. I'll move to open the votes on vice president as well. So those, if you haven't voted, feel free to vote for the vice president roles.
Do we need to select submit at this point, Josh?
I should have made them as yeah, I should have made them separate polls. So if you submit, I think it'll submit everything. So we'll just kind of go through one. I should have done them separately, but I guess since everyone's running unopposed, it does make it a little bit simpler. So for the, sorry, a little bit of confusion on that one. For the treasurer position, Nagar was hoping to return on her role there. So Nagar, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a few thoughts on position and your hopes for the 2021 position.
Sure, Josh. Again, my name is Nagar. Hard to pronounce my family name. It's Sadekpur. It's a good time to practice it, I think, now. I am with AEE for almost 2 years right now. I was treasurer for the last year. It was, as we all know, it was pretty different year, and it was pretty different year for treasurer as well, because I was not that active. I'm hoping we have a better year in 2021 and more of things going around in 21 in terms of AE activities and AE events. Yeah, back to you, Josh.
Perfect. Thanks, Nagar. So once again, the treasurer position is open for voting. Next, move on to the secretary position. So Joad will be returning for his second term. Joad, would you mind just sharing a couple of words or thoughts and background?
Thank you, Josh. Yes, my name is Joad. I've been with the AEE Alberta chapter as a member for 4 years, and I've been running, I ran was on the board over the last year as secretary. My 2 goals for the next year would be to resume our project that where we wanted to share some case studies and members' profiles. So we had to put this project on hold this year, but we'll hopefully resume it in the new year. My second objective will be to support better or different directors and let them work with their committees, but at the same time provide that initial support to organize meetings so that individually they work faster in a more nimble way. I felt that this year we were working at a large group. It was good. It was a good learning thing, working in smaller, more nimble committees with more actionable items and more communications with small groups. I think could be really helpful for us to really move forward into our projects. So that will be, in a sense, my support, especially for AEE Alberta this year.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for that, Joad. So I'll open up anyone to vote for the secretary position if you have not already. So the last position that I'll go through, and then we'll talk about the past present role, would be the Seawheel representative. So Amy, I'll open it up to you and maybe kind of give a little bit overview of the new position and kind of your background and role.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think first, just thanks to the board from 2020 and all of the directors. It was my first year as a member and as a board member, and the work and collaboration was really wonderful to see in a very different year, as others have talked about. As Kelsey mentioned, this is a new position on the board that AEE and Seawheel had suggested to bring those activities in closer to the AEE chapter. And Kelsey was the previous Seawheel representative that sat outside of the board. So I'm looking forward as well to leveraging Kelsey's experience and welcome back the previous board members and directors along with the new ones. I think that while this year will continue to have its challenges, I think there will be a lot of opportunity that emerges as well. And I look forward to tapping into that with AEE Alberta and the broader network.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy. So lastly, I guess the past present role, I will make a separate poll just to get everyone to vote on that on the affirmative. But so I guess a little bit of background for myself. I've been with AEE since the Alberta chapter founded, largely led by efforts by a Fury to get everything started. Served as the treasurer for several years, the vice president, and then this past year as president. So my plan now, moving on to the past president role, is kind of to start transitioning some of the lessons I've learned to Tabor, should he be successfully elected, as well as the board as well, to kind of hopefully this year take a bit of a reduced role and let the chapter kind of go in a slightly different direction, where I'm not as heavily involved in it, but making sure none of those lessons that we've learned in the past are lost. So yeah, those are kind of the big ones I had for myself. Did anyone have any questions about any of the positions while the voting is open?
I could just clarify as well that the new Seawheel lead position is a little bit different than the chapter liaison group. In most chapters, it may be the same person, but it could be two different people too. And so the Seawheel lead is really meant to, so that more action can happen at the local level, I guess. So creating events, networking, and that sort of thing, and making sure that there's some activity going on. So I think what was happening in some chapters is that there were Seawheel groups starting to form, and they were calling themselves chapters. And it was a bit confusing because it's a division of AEE. And so this was a way to bring some clarity to that partnership. And so the chapter liaison group meets to share lessons learned amongst the different chapters across the United States and Canada. And then the Seawheel lead will help to take that, take those ideas and really implement them here in Alberta. So I hope that helps a bit.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Kelsey. So I'm just going to give this a couple more seconds for the main position polls there. Then I'll close that here in 5 seconds. So if you haven't voted, oh, there we go. We got everyone's votes. So I'll end that. So would like to congratulate Tabor, Kelsey, Nagar, Joad, and Amy for being elected to your positions. There we go. See some applause there. And then I'll quickly launch the last poll just to get the confirmation that everyone stop share results. And we'll just do the last poll. So just to get the affirmative that, that everyone's okay with me serving on the board again one last year. One more year.
Oh, you know it'll be more than one, Josh, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, just give that a couple more seconds. Okay. If everyone online that's eligible to vote has voted. So once again, so thank you everyone for the vote of confidence there. So going back to the presentation. So that kind of covers the key business that we had to get out of the way for today. I just would like to take this opportunity once again to thank some of our past sponsors. Most of these were largely supporters that made our, when we did the mini conference possible for those that were able to attend. The big one being Mindcone Consulting, who's been a supporter of the chapter since the very beginning. And then our other partners, Sciat, Connellar, and DEC were some of the big ones we've had, definitely made the chapters what it is today. So I will open up the floor if anyone has any kind of general questions or comments or just wishes to discuss. If you do want, let me know, and can definitely open stuff up and set up a couple breakout rooms if people want to talk in a smaller groups in the whole room. Otherwise, you are free to kickstart your weekend however you see fit. So.
I would like to open a question to people attending the meeting here about networking opportunities, especially online in the next few months as we continue our COVID pandemic situation. There's probably an opportunity to organize further networking events together on specific teams like we did in the past in the fall that was led by Tabor, Vasily, and Matthew, Josh, and a few other people. Sol as well at some point. What we had done, we had 2 events on building benchmarking, and actually I don't recall the second topic, but it was obviously related to energy management. So what topics would you be interested to see discussed as part of those networking events? And for both events, we had about 12 to 15 people attending, so we were able to create small breakout rooms where smaller group discussions were possible. What kind of topics would be suitable to discuss?
Everyone feel free to unmute discuss, or you can type that into the chat box.
Sure, I think if there's anything that would go in line with what, I mean, things that would be good to do. Like for me, it's about networking. I want to get people, just get in. It's so hard with COVID. And I imagine there's gonna be so many people having similar issues, especially with the new programs that are coming out in a week. Just how are we going to be able to get, what are some topics that are going to get people actually showing up at these webinars and getting the opportunity to meet and talk with other people? But last year, obviously, it was focused around, I think we had one around policy. So it was net zero, basically trying to bring things to net zero. See a note from Matthew there. Yeah, suggestions to collaborate with our neighbors in the provinces next door. So yeah, I mean, there's, I've got some connections here to the folks in Ontario, as well as obviously in Vancouver. So we can see what they're doing for presentations. We haven't finalized the list for BC yet, but I mean, BC and Alberta are so close, so we can use those exact same, honestly, same presentations and sort of promote each other, which will help a bit. But sorry, we're talking about topics. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if there's anything around the actual programs themselves, I think that would be potentially beneficial. I think it was right. That would get a lot of people out at least.
That's where my mind is at, Tabor, too, is how do we and welcome to those who aren't on the board or aren't directors. So I see some names there that I recognize, but we haven't had in this forum, I don't think, that this past year that I've seen. So Calvin and Anthony, welcome, and the few others there, Luz, Hernandez, Moyen. welcome. I'm not sure if those are your actual names. So I'm thinking about what will draw people, and I don't know if it's a technical topic, a kind of engagement and driving kind of adoption topic, a policy topic, or maybe it's just like, is there a speaker we can get that will draw people, or the program idea to Tabor? Like if we had someone from ERA coming to present on the program, and leveraged our network to draw them into that conversation. I'm with you on that. Like I feel like there's a lot of energy engineers out there who haven't been attending for whatever reason, and we can pull them in with the right things. Yeah.
And we got a lot of traction 3 years ago. I remember we had a presentation at the where's the Petroleum Club, where we had one person from ICF, one person from Clear Result. I can't remember if we had anybody from Summerhill or EcoFit, but we had a lot of, like, if we can do one of the initial presentations around, or webinars around that, I think that should get a lot of people showing up. And then from there, we can kind of advertise our sort of the other topics. Calvin, you just mentioned the topic, so soft skills, like a change management type one. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think we got to remember, in our membership, we've got a lot of energy engineers that are consultants. We've got other energy engineers that work for municipalities, others in sort of the private sector. So trying to help them be successful would be a great one. I actually have a presentation that I presented at AEE International this year that was very, very, very similar to that. So we can hijack that one and just represent it. Or sorry, I can represent that if you guys would like, or sort of crush it down to 10 minutes and make it like a networking type thing too.
Right. But, I was going to say, for the soft skills one, I just attended a presentation today on, I think a lot of the themes will parallel that, but it was Indigenous engagement for major projects. And I think getting that stakeholder engagement, it's the same underlying themes of how do you get people engaged in a project so you're not trying to drag them along, but they're feeling invested and that they're driving the initiative and moving it forward. And then you're supporting them. So I think that soft skill one, I think a lot of the themes there, that might be something that makes sense to bring in. I think definitely apply to a broader audience than just our chapter, but those underlying lessons of how you engage people, make them feel like if they're taking on energy efficiency initiatives within their company or business, that it's something that they thought of, right? It's the classic sales pitch of you want to make them think it's their idea, but getting that early involvement in the project so they set the direction, I think, is a big part of those soft skills. So I think this is definitely a topic, and I mentioned it before, it's probably one of the hardest things to do in energy efficiency. You can give all the technical numbers on why they should replace their lights or windows or boilers, but if you can't get the buy-in and support from upper management or that investment in energy efficiency, it just doesn't happen. So thank you for that suggestion, Calvin. I know everyone's being a little quiet, but show of hands, we can put a couple breakout rooms, like I said. Otherwise, the formal part of the meeting is done. So if anyone wants to have a breakout room, we can definitely split people up a bit so that you're not talking in front of everyone. But thoughts or suggestions, feel free to put that in the chat.
Yeah, there was one comment just about a podcast. I'm not sure who that was from, but that's an interesting idea too, of doing some shorter segments that could be out there as a way to just keep some momentum going between events, or keep some engagement connection somehow. I
agree, and that was me, Adrian. And nice to be here. Are you watching my video now? Is it on?
I can see you.
Good, thank you. So I think honestly, it's what works given the context of not being able to do the traditional one-to-one, right? So COVID is bad for that, but everybody being stuck at home, perhaps investing already. I personally have invested in more technology upgrades myself. So I'm pretty sure that's a common situation, and maybe the cost is not too high, And for the engagement aspect, it could be big, could be showcasing cool projects across the province.
Does anybody have any experience with podcast? Like, it sounds like a good idea. I guess I just won't even know where to start. Yeah.
Me neither, but I once heard that there are kind of like specialist consultants or some team that does that and can set you up really good. There are tutorials on, I mean, there are levels to whatever scale, like how much bang you want to do on the first week, right? But there are ways to plan it ahead. And again, we will all be engaged in that, the research part, hey, this is the research, it doesn't look too complex. I don't know, for engagement aspect, I think that's the best bank of everyone's buck these days.
Or even doing an online interview that can be posted on LinkedIn or something, little sound bites that can lead.
Totally.
We have someone in our company who's been doing more and more of that. So we have some abilities to record things and
And
there was the Earth's Energy Engineers campaign recently too. Did anyone see that last year?
No.
It was through AEE. They were showcasing different people around the world and focused on climate change, and I don't know, we could play on that.
There you go.
Sorry, Joab, did you mark any of that down? Like, I think that's a really good idea for us to talk about at the next meeting, is potentially a topic or a venue, I guess, for that.
I have actually some notes on that. Yes, Tabor, thank you.
And as far as back to the experience, no, zero, but will and interest, sure.
Yeah, and I think they can tend to be fairly informal as well. So, you don't have to put a whole ton of prep into it necessarily. I'll also say that we have a lot of voices on this call right now that I think would sound really great in a podcast. So.
I guess just quickly expanding on that idea, if maybe there's a way to tie in that podcast idea and have that be an exclusive component of membership, and tying that in a way to drive membership as well. Maybe there is a series in the podcast, just spitballing here, obviously, but that could be focused on students, right? Introducing them to all the different firms in the industry, individuals within those firms, and kind of giving a snapshot as to what working within that firm looks like. And I think that would be worth a $25 fee for a student, but it could be another way to connect some of the initiatives.
Yeah, good call. Because then, right. I guess really what we haven't necessarily done in the past is written down all the different kind of membership types, because what a student needs is very, very different than what a consultant needs, which is different than what somebody working for a larger organization or government. So yeah, that makes sense.
So I would like to use this opportunity. I don't know, do you hear me for some reason?
Sorry, Fury, it's really quiet.
I think my headphone is not working.
Yeah, no, that works much better. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to remind everyone of AEE World. So if you want to make a presentation on that day, the deadline to submit your abstract is today. Oh. Also, I'd like to remind everyone for the upcoming awards for AEE International. So application is open. If you know anyone in this province or anywhere, it doesn't have to be an AEE member, anybody in Canada that has done something that should be recognized, please nominate a person, or as a board, still nominate someone from our chapter. Just going to put that in there because very soon, like in February, I think I will be more on that at international level to everyone. Just a heads up that that is coming. really soon.
Perfect. Thanks. Great.
Thank you, Faray. I have a note for everyone here. So we have received expression of interest for different board directors role. If you do have or an interest to contribute to our chapter activities in any capacity, and here you don't have to chair committee, you can just be a committee member and provide support here and there for different projects. We received already interest for those committees and board directors roles from Calvin, Vasily, Matthew, Afure, and Vasily, you're there twice. I think you were going to work twice as much as everyone else, and Armageddon. Anyone else interested, please send an email to just a short email with your expression of interest to info@aealberta.org. Thank you. Or you can actually just state it right here during this meeting if you prefer, if you're interested.
I would say it would be nice if we had someone to help with the website, if someone's at all interested in kind of being the webmaster. It's not a ton of work, but it's nice to have someone kind of focused and isn't confused every time they look at it like I do when I try to change things.
Yeah, always helpful to have that type of technical person on board. So. Okay, is there any other suggestions, thoughts you guys have? I mean, it's, basically what we'll do, some of the suggestions that was brought up in the next meeting, we'll sit down and start talking. Basically, we've already got a set of goals for the year, but we'll see how we can implement those into those goals and help that be kind of part of it, and come up with specific tasks and responsibilities and go for those things. Anything else anybody wants to bring up?
No, but I just want to congratulate all the new board members. Congratulations on the roles. And I would also like to thank all our participants here, especially I can see Adrian, Liz, and Moeen, who actually spared the time. I look after the memberships. I would like to personally invite you to be with us, to come on board with us. And if you have any kind of questions or clarification which you want to understand what value, what AEE brings to you, please feel free to reach out to me. I would put my email address and cell number on the chat. Please feel free to just reach out and we can have a discussion on that.
Okay, if there's nothing else, the only other thing I can think of when it comes to meetings, so lining up the next call, do we want to send, I can send basically what were we using before, Doodle? Is that right, Josh?
Yeah, Doodle will work. And yeah, as mentioned, anyone else that's new on the meeting here, if you guys are interested in getting involved, let us know. We'll definitely like to get you guys more engaged there. But yeah, we'll do a Doodle poll for I think the next AGM, or not AGM, board meeting.
Sure. So if you do want to get involved, make sure, Calvin, folks, if you guys want to say, if you send that email to info@aealberta.org, that gives us, that way we've got your email address, and we'll make sure we include you in that invite if you are interested in coming. So.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
So a couple other chats there. Okay, perfect. Anything else anybody wants to cover? No?
I'll just say thanks again to everyone that served this past year. It's been a challenging year for everyone, and thanks for everyone's commitment. And I love that this community, we can all change roles and move around, but we're all supporting each other. So I love that about it. Love you guys. And thanks, Josh, for leading the meeting. Did a great job.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, and everyone, I think it's kind of nice to finally see some faces. I know some of you guys have worked with professionally and through the board, so it's kind of nice to get a few faces and that familiarity. Maybe my face is new to you guys too, but definitely looking forward to going forward in 2021. It's going to be a very interesting year, and like I said, it would be great if we can get a few events in person, but we'll see how the vaccination rollout goes out and what opens up, but fingers crossed.
Exactly.
Happy Friday.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye once again.